And I didn't get the chop from you there, Phil. You always do the start on the thing with the little screen. Here we go. So as you folks know, you know me, Dr. LL, you know Phil Vetrano, who is the co-founder here behind HELPipdia, and we are all about youth development. In fact, so committed to this that we are standing in for our guest who is MIA. Didn't tell us that he was not going to be there, but there you go, right? So you got to roll with the show. When you're alive, you got to roll with the punches. And so today's topic is something that a lot of parents grapple with because their kids don't like math. This starts happening, especially in grade 7, grade 8, so in that middle school. And boys seem to do okay and still like math, but girls start hating it. By grade 9, boys are still a little bit into it, but girls by grade 9 absolutely hate math. They hate math more than they hate sports. And this is tragic. As a STEMinist, I think this is appalling. So the tips today are all about how do you get your child to like math? Phil, why don't you kick us off?
Yes, excellent. Yeah, so I've met a lot of students who are less interested in math than other subjects, and it is something that even the tutors, I mean, math tutors are in demand more than English and history tutors. So making math fun is certainly something you want to explore and do with your kids to help them, encourage them, and get them excited about it. So one of the number one thing is make it hands-on. So engage kids with interactive activities. And you could do this with, if you want to help, if they want to help plan a vacation, there's numbers associated with that vacation. And you could say, how many miles do we have to go? And then they're on Google Maps looking at how many miles we have to go. And then how many miles out of the way are you going to go? Because they have tools that share with you the bird's eye view of going from one distance to another, but not necessarily is that your path that you're going to take, because the parkway doesn't run that way. So this is one example. There's cost associated with travel. They can add up the numbers associated with it and things like that. So that's the first one. Make it hands-on and interesting and engaging.
Absolutely. And then we'll jump into the second one here. Make it visual, right? Use pictures, use ways to incorporate other visual aids, use things to help count, right? Like blocks, physical things, and say, here's 2, here's 5, to really show kids how to be able to dig in. All right, Phil, number 3 for you.
Number 3, okay, there's always games. Most kids love games. Adults love games. So math games can be fun and exciting and competitive, where they want to do well and excel. So you can play math games. There's math bingo. There's math baseball. You could do hopscotch math. So there's a lot of variety of ways. And certainly playing cards. There's a lot of math in cards. So performing that activity is also good to encourage them to want to learn math quickly.
Exactly. Right. I mean, these are the things that make sense. It's like, you make it fun. And here's the next one. Not only do you make it fun, like with math games that you were talking about, or bringing in visual aids and making it hands-on, right? So it's not just something weird and numbers and really abstract, but you make it relatable. So let's do math on something like, if your child is in sports, how many times do you go up at bats and things? What are your numbers? What do you get? Let's talk about if we go to a restaurant, what's the bill? What's the percent? How do you put the tip on there? How do you do all of these things? And just make it so that they really understand that math, it's with you for life. You need it. You don't get rid of it. You've got to think about it all the time. Your taxes, when you go out you go out with friends, you go out for dinner, you do any of this, you need your math. It doesn't go away.
Absolutely. And thank goodness schools do have math. Thank goodness. So very important. So number 5, incorporate everyday objects. So one example of an everyday object is using rulers. They have different levels of measurement. So if they're interested in measuring things, they could really have fun around the house and outside the house, and taking that tape measure and doing lots of calculations. You could do square footage of your home. You could do square footage of your land, your plot, the backyard. You can measure the size of the pool. and so on and so forth. And plus, there's lots of measuring cups that you may use in the kitchen. And certainly understanding those forms of measure is another good to math. Show them recipes. There's another way of including math as part of the process, especially if you say, okay, we're going to do half the recipe, or we're going to do double the recipe. These are things
Right.
that they would be expected to do if they were, making the recipe, especially if they're bringing their friends. So it could make a joint effort.
Right. And and like you said, like do it in a fun way. Like, oh, we're going to make chocolate chip cookies today, but we're going to make a double batch because your friends Joey and Peter and whatever and this and that are coming over. So we're going to make a double batch of cookies. And boy, we better get it right. How do we double the recipe, right? All of that
Excellent. They'll
kind of
be
stuff.
counting chocolate chips in front of you and learning. And this is a great example.
We'd run
We
out.
need 20 chocolate chips in that one cookie. Make sure it has at least 20.
Right. That's right. Yeah, we're all about that when we bake the chocolate chips and that together. Use the whole bag, and it's like, just use the whole bag. We don't measure the chocolate chips. You measure all the other stuff, the flour, the eggs, the all of that sort of stuff. But the chocolate chips, throw them in, right? To taste, right? Yeah, there we go. All right. We're bringing this home here. Tip 6, encourage exploration. So yes, your kids have to work hard and they have to practice and do their practice problems so that they do well on their tests. But when they're home with you and doing practice tests and things like that, encourage exploration. Map out the formula. Try it out. Does this work? Does that work? How? Why doesn't it? Let's work on that together. And it's okay to be wrong at home. And you really want to create that kind of environment, which cues up very nicely yours. Tip 7.
7, create a positive environment. So maintain a positive attitude towards math. It can be fun, enjoyable, exciting, and it's important, just like we mentioned before. So if they're getting answers wrong, that's okay. Please don't. There shouldn't be consequences for them to get something wrong. It's just learning from that and sharing that in a positive way. Maybe try that again. That could be a preeminent for not saying, no, that is wrong. Please, revisit that. So something encouraging and helping the student learn and encourage and having a lot of positive feedback for them.
Exactly, because math is hard. But if you notice in all of the tips that we said, you never minimize what math is, but you also don't bring it forward and say like, yeah, math's really hard. Like I get it, because then you're just perpetuating that in their mindset that they think, oh my God, math is really hard. I can't do it. And you say like, no, you'd be encouraging. Hey, you got to try like everything else, right? The first time you get on a bicycle, you fall down a few times. Like it's everything else. And the more that you ride it, the easier that it is. So with that, it's a wrap. This was a quick get in, get out, get it done, right? And we just wanted to bring you these 7 tips for making math less miserable, not only for your children, but for you.
Excellent.
Right?
I just thought of one more thing. Let them count the change that you've been collecting in that bottle.
That's right. Exactly right. There's always something. There's lots of ways to do it. So, all right, with that, we'll be back next week with our guests. We know who are going to be, as they always and usually are, more punctual and more responsible about being there, being on time, and showing up for us, because everybody is as committed, just about, maybe not today's guest, to helping kids the way that we are. So HELPipdia, take a look at us on the website, helpipdia.org, and we bring you Help Talk every week, Monday at 3 p.m. ET. Thanks,
Thank you,
Phil.
Loralyn. Great job.